Everyone, so we just got the patch note for season 26 and it's looking really good. So in this video, I'm going to cover all the new changes for season 26 and we're going to look at everything here. I can already tell you now, I'm really excited for this. It's honestly one of the better patch notes I've seen in a while. So of course, within PTR, it's all about doing some class balancing. So let's look at it, shall we? So for season 26, our season theme is Echoing Nightmare. So this is an optional and rewarding in-game challenge which players fight within the memories of Nephilim who fell in a greater rift. Today's Nephilim must stand their ground until they are inevitable, overwhelmed, and defeated. Players must collect a Petrified Scream from defeated Rift Guardians to gain entry to Echoing Nightmare. And in transmuting a Petrified Scream incarnate cube summons a portal that players can enter to face the horrors of Nephilim's past. So basically, from what I see here, is this like an infinite greater rift you can kind of go into where the monsters just keep on going and becoming stronger and stronger. This actually sounds really cool. And this also, of course, going to give some really nice gear and some really nice loot from what we can see. But just by gameplay mechanics, this looks really incredible because currently the game can be a bit stagnant sometimes. So something like this can really mix it up. So I'm definitely one that's really excited to get into this and just push this as high as I can. So the Petrified Screams and Echoing Nightmare can only be accessed within a seasonal character, of course, season theme, and only one player is required to transmute it. So actually, if you're playing a 4-man, it's only required to have one of the players actually use this, which are really nice actually. While within Echoing Nightmare, the difficulty scales a player's progress is counted, right? So we go higher and higher. So basically, you know, go from what's close to like tier 100, then maybe the next wave is like tier 105. So each wave becomes higher and higher. Of course, we haven't seen this yet, but we're of course gonna test this a lot. I assume there's also gonna be some different variants of these waves. So like some will be range, some will be melee, some might be really good for CC. This is looking really cool actually. Players can progress faster by defeating monsters quickly. So again, if you're like really high gear, you can of course go into it quicker so you don't have to do those low levels and take a lot of time, right? Players receive the following rewards upon completing an Echoing Nightmare. You get more XP, legendary gems, bloodshots, gem, and a new legendary gem called Whisper of Atonement. Now, what is Whisper of Atonement? The Whisper of Atonement is a legendary gem used exclusively for augmenting ancient legendary items. It drops pre-ranked based upon a player's performance in Echoing Nightmare. Oh my goodness. We actually get a way to augment our gear now. Just like the soul shard here for 2025, we augment 125 augments, right? We actually get a new one here. So basically, the higher you can complete this Echoing Nightmare, the higher this gem can become, right? So if you get really good and you can go really high in this Echoing Nightmare, so just by completing one Echoing Nightmare, you can maybe get up to like, you know, close to 140 or so augments, which is really cool actually. And also says here you get XP, legendary gem, bloodshots. I'll assume you get a lot of XP from this. So XP, maybe have a high chance for some ancients or primals. I don't really know about this one. You get more bloodshots, gems. This looks really cool in terms of getting those augments. This is our first seasonal theme that introduced a new activity to the game. In Echoing Nightmare, players will experience an intense, densely packed, increasing challenge rift that stretches their ability to stay in the fight as long as possible. And then another one. Greater Rift updates. Now this is where it gets really juicy, my guys. Or Extreme. Greater Rifts have a small chance to roll in Or Extreme. These streamline rifts have a curated list of maps and monsters compositions. So basically what I'm reading here is you have a chance when you open a rift to get a godlike rift. So it's probably going to be some kind of effect that'll show you that this is like an amazing rift. So basically we're probably going to be fishing for one of those, right? We're going to be fishing for these because they're going to be amazing. So 3 maps have been added and 2 maps have been removed from the Greater Rift list. So they've added Field of Misery, Desolate Sands, and Cemetery. In case you don't know, these are all massive open areas for the rift. For instance, this cemetery is one of the best you can find when you're just farming T16s because there's just an insane amount of monsters in a really tight space, and these are all just like really big open areas. So basically these are, you know, when you're fishing for like 4-corner fish strings, these will also be what you're looking for now with these new maps here. This is so amazing, man. Not having to fish for only one map is so cool. And you also remove the sewers of Cauldron and hidden aqueducts. All right, so basically the 2 versions of the sewer looks to have been removed. That is so nice. No more running into sewers while you're finishing in a Greater Rift. That is so cool. The probability of Greater Rift maps have been adjusted. The probability of monster groups have been adjusted. I don't know what these means. They don't really tell a whole lot. Adjusted how? I guess we have to see later on what that actually means. The following monsters have been adjusted to grant more progression and XP within Groves. Okay, so we got Blazing Guardians. Alright, so it's all the Guardians guys, and then all the Impaler and Spearmen. Basically all the Frost Clan guys, and then also Hell Witches and Wild Tempters. Okay, so in case you didn't know, these are all what we qualify as one of the worst mob types you can find. All of these here are basically, when you see them, you leave when you're like trying to push for a really high Greater Rift. These are basically ranged monsters that do a ton of damage, so you can't really kill or stack that easily. So normally you just leave immediately when you see these. This is gonna be interesting because normally these are very difficult, right? They might not be good anyway because they are ranged and hurt like a Sure. But if they do give more XP and progression than normal mobs, then maybe they could actually be nice. But that's interesting to see. That does actually mean that we have more mob types that might be okay to play. So basically what I can see from these changes here is that they are kind of trying to remove some of the whole fishing. In case you didn't know, a lot of end game is all about looking for really open, good maps with mob types. This looks like they're trying to help that a little bit, removing some of the bad mob types, adding a few more open maps, and of course also adjusting to some of these mob types so they are better. Players can speak to Auric to close an active Greater Rift. This one here, my ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here. We can now close a rift. Oh my goodness, this is one of the best things in the game now. In case you didn't know, currently when you are fishing for a Greater Rift, it's all about opening Greater Rift. Oh, you didn't see a fish doing, you have to leave the Greater Rift and press leave game, start a new game, and all that process takes so long. Basically, you can be in the menu. Basically, we call it a menu screen simulator, and you could be there for 20 minutes just looking for a map you can actually play. This is so nice. You can actually just close the rift now. Anyone who's ever done any fishing will so much appreciate this. Thank you, Blizzard. That is so cool. This option is only available in a single player game. Okay, that needs to be reworked. That should be also be for group stuff though. Yeah, that definitely needs to be reworked because that should work for everything. That's definitely a thing. But holy shit, that is so nice having this. Oh my goodness, I'm so looking forward to this now. Note, we want to improve the Greater experience through quality of life updates, balancing and addressing community feedback, review all the maps and monsters and being Greater, and rear the probabilities to overall to make sure players spend more time with the content they enjoy. Less spaghetti and more chickens. Thank you, Blizzard. That is so nice. Oh, this is gonna be great, guys. So some PTR up nodes. Okay, so you can actually buy some extra stuff. Oh, this is nice. We actually get a bag of fortune, so we can actually buy Greater Keystones, so we don't have to actually farm them. This is so annoying in the PTR, having to farm Greater Keystones. That's really cool. What else you got? Oh, we actually get the 13 Whisper of Atonement of rank 100. Alright, so we get free augments for the PTR. That's really cool, actually. That should help a lot. So basically, we get a lot of PTR and help a ton in terms of not having to spend time farming keys, making augments. That's really nice. So basically, you can just make a character and you have everything straight away from just one of these bags. That's really cool. And for note, we want to make it easier for players to jump in and try out new content. Yeah, so basically that. And now some item changes. Okay, so for the Barbarian, Lazy Raekor 4-piece. Purchase gains effect of every rune and deals 1,000% increased damage. For every 1% life you're missing, the damage of Ancient Spear is increased by 2%. Okay. Usually these are kind of weird because normally if you play like this, that means you want to be low on health, right? I'm not sure if you guys know about this item here, but this is the Shumitsu chest piece. While below 25% life, all attacks are guaranteed crits. This is what I see. I see a build here where you want to be below 25% health to get the full crit here, and you also get the increased damage here. These are usually not very fun to play, this kind of playstyle. I hope they actually kind of change this because I can see this actually becoming like really strong for it. And I'm personally not a fan of playstyle whatsoever with this chest here. But interesting, let's see what happens. 6-piece hitting enemies with first charge increase damage of next Ancient Spear by 5,500% and cause it to release multiple spears from the target. This effect stacks and consumed from each released spear. This can only consume a maximum of 5 stacks at a time. Okay, so basically what I'm seeing here is they want to make a ranged build again for the whole Barb stuff. Make some layer C or Raekor. And then also weapon throw and then spear deal 100 to 200% increased damage. Okay, so we're basically gonna get the ranged Barb back again. This is actually kind of cool. I would definitely play this. I really love the Barb. It's my second most played class after Demon Hunter, of course. But this one here, that's a bit skeptical for me. I'm not sure about that one, but I actually like the whole like weapon throw kind of ancient spear thing. I played a lot back in the day. That was some fun stuff. Get some, you generate fury based on distance that you may hit. Increase the damage of weapon throw and spear by 200%. Okay. Increase damage of spear by 250. Increase damage of 200% if spear boulder hits 5 of your enemies. Damage increased by 100%. Okay. So this one is basically just for good for the Rift Guardian and killing off an elite or two. But they've actually added a few really nice things in here in terms of getting extra multipliers. So you get 200 here, 200 here, and of course the 6-piece itself. That's pretty cool, actually. I like it. You actually get 3 different, right? Because you have the Scholar, which is 200%, 300-foot Spear, 200%, and also 200 here from Eret's Law. That's actually quite a bit of some multipliers there, guys. That could actually be really cool combined with this whole like Ancient Spear kind of playstyle. I'm looking forward to playing that. I'm definitely gonna play that a lot on PTR, I think. We reworked Raekor's legacy to give the set its own identity. It felt natural to the team to influence the charging Fantasy's Raekor with the Barbarian's ranged skills. Okay, this is gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to playing this. This is gonna be nice. Crusader. Thorns of the Invoker. The attack speed of Punish and Slash have been increased by 100%. Okay, and deals 65% increased Thorns damage. Alright, so basically just more damage. Norval's Favor. Gain 200% increased damage while it's in speed charge and for 5 seconds after it ends. Okay, so let's see here. So Nova's Favor is overperforming across multiple sets. Yeah, probably. I don't see that being an issue, changing that. I think it's 400% now. I think that to 200% is probably a good idea. We're going to bring back its power, but we're increasing the utility of Thorns of the Invoker to compensate. Okay, so actually, what they're saying here is they still want Invoker to be strong, but they want the Fervor to be a bit less overall powerful. But yeah, that actually looks kind of cool. I think it's a good way of doing it. So, of course, I don't know about the numbers that much. I'm not really much of a Crusader player. But I think, of course, keeping the damage of the Thorns and making that actually stronger, of the Invoker, of course, and then reducing that a little bit for Favor is actually quite nice. And here it is, the Monk. Binding of the Lesser Gods, of course. Enemies hit by Second Strike take 200% increased damage for Mystic L for 5 seconds. Alright, so they have added the extra line where it says this damage is increased by 5 times for your fire allies. We're happy with the gameplay of the Inner Mantle Monks, but the fire build is overperforming, so remove the fire ally bonus from the Binding of the Gods. Okay, this is basically what I figured this also do. This is actually quite nice, because I actually really enjoy playing, for instance, the water build for farming Greatives. You can farm to your 90s, your 100s, like a minute. So I like that this still is a thing you can play. You can still play the inners. Actually, that's a good way of changing it. Now, I'm not sure if that's perform at all now. There might be too much of a nerf, because I do want a bit of a difference between water and fire. I think the fire is a bit more of a play style. You have to be a bit more conservative of your cooldown. So I think that should be some kind of reward for playing the fire build. I was hoping maybe it would be taken from a 5-time effect to maybe like a 2-times effect or 3-times effect instead of just removing entirely. But we'll see what happens on PTR. We're definitely gonna try this out. That's actually it. So to recap real quick, we get the Nightmare. So basically the endless rifts here. These look really, really cool. Man, this is gonna be really nice. It basically sounds like some kind of endless greater rift or something like that, where you can just fight monsters constantly that get stronger and stronger. This is really gonna test out your potential and your power, right? This is basically gonna be about your skill. That is just really cool. I'm looking forward to this a lot. And of course, also the Whisper of Atonement Legendary Gem. So you get the augments now that are then upgraded in the Nightmare. This is really cool. I really love that we had these soul shards for augments here 25. And the fact that they actually listened to our feedback and they added a new way of doing it in Season 26 is really cool. I think that's a really good show that this actually listens to what we're saying. So this is actually a really nice thing. And of course, also the map changes. So we have a few less maps that are terrible, like the sewers basically, and then added a few more really big area maps. So you have high potential for getting a good follow-up or a good map overall. It's going to be really nice. I'm looking forward to playing this a lot. This is really going to help with the whole playstyle of how you play Greatives. Currently, if you're pushing, you know, you get the first map, you push for that for like 50 keys. You finally get a first thing, you play it, and then the follow-up is like a sewer, and then you have to leave the game anyway. Hopefully, this will adjust it so there is not that high of a chance to get a really bad follow-up. I'm really looking forward to playing this now. This is going to be amazing. And of course, also adding the extra progression and XP for some of the ranged mobs. This is gonna be interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to see if these actually work. These might still do too much damage and may be too difficult to like move around because they are ranged, but if they do give a lot of progression, this might be nice. And of course, also the whole thing about closing a Greative. This is gonna be really cool. They just need to add this for also for 4-man, of 2-man, and 3-man, of course. But yeah, overall, this looks amazing. I would say this is one of the best PTR notes I've seen in a long time. It's not like we're getting a lot of changes to the sets, but we're getting a lot of overall game quality, which are actually really needed. So for me, right now, just looking at this, I would say that this is probably an 8 or 9 out of 10. Of course, it depends on if you're going to change a few things around later, but this is some really good quality of life changes that we're getting here. This is going to be really nice. And I'm, of course, going to be playing this PTR so much. So make sure to stick around on the channel as I will update you guys plenty with builds and everything like that. And of course, I'll also upload a whole ton of the Nightmare, show you guys what it's all about, and of course, also some guides for it. So make sure to subscribe for these amazing guides coming out in the future, and I'll see you in the PTR. Peace out, everyone.